Welcome to Extra Minutes, the official podcast of West Texas FC. Sponsored by Case Corporate.
Welcome to the latest episode of Extra Minutes, the official West Texas FC podcast. It is I, Luke McDonald. This is Adam Reed, both from Film Hunter Media. Our third musketeer, Brandon Luisi, unfortunately couldn't be with us today. He's here in spirit, and I'm sure we'll hear his voice plenty of times throughout the episode. But Adam, I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce to you West Texas FC. Because I think this latest game against CF Houston was the first time that it was like, that's the team I knew was there the whole time. It was a game where we saw all the good things that we've seen throughout the whole season, but without some of the kind of little mistakes that have been just plaguing us and making it to where we couldn't keep that clean sheet. What was kind of your take of the game?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't watch it the full game live. I was in Padre, Corpus, and with the storm and everything, and we didn't get good service. And so I was stressing watching in between when I could get service and see. And then we started killing them, and it was like, okay, I don't have to stress, and I can just relax, and then I can watch the game later. And so I finally got to watch the full game. Man, it was as close to flawless as we've played. I mean, defense was on point. Offense just attacked the heck out of the ball. And, I mean, Keep made sure, even when we made a small flaw or something, that it was no big deal. With a couple.
Sekanina had a few really good saves. That one being one of them.
Like 2 minutes, I think. It was like, oh, no.
We'll go over that here in a minute. As it's played out wide, now into the middle. CF Houston looking to send a run for that Stasek. A shot on goal. Big save made by Sekanina as he pounces on the rebound. That's a triple T fence. Big save.
I mean, he just crushed that save.
Yeah, which could have been a big point in the game, right? Like if you give up an early goal, sometimes you just kind of like it gets in your head a little bit. You're chasing the game at that point. You can't like settle in. So, it shouldn't, like, we know the score being 4-0 at the end of the game, but it could have been a really different story had that first goal gone in, right? Because it would have just kind of taken the wind out of the sails.
Yeah, well, and the weird part is you saying that, I mean, it really did feel like it could have been a lot closer because they had a chance early to kind of maybe capitalize on a mistake and get an early goal. But then also we had a goal taken back later on and several other very close, so close to scoring opportunities to where it almost could have just opened up into a 7-0 game too. So, I mean, it definitely, there's that possibility there.
Yeah. So I guess we should say we're here at Tall City Brewing. It's a little different episode where it's the middle of the afternoon, so on a weekday, so we don't get our Tall City beer. But the game, I guess we can talk about just kind of what we saw in the game and then what we saw too in the crowd, the atmosphere. It was a bit of an odd day. You weren't there, but the weather, for a little bit, it looked like it might be pretty stormy. It had been raining off and on all day. The forecast was up and down. So as far as us on the production team had to kind of have a couple of contingency plans going on. We can't have our cameras out in the rain. So, there was just a lot of that going on. I think that may have affected the attendance a little bit, which, I mean, you kind of get it, right? Like if you think it's going to be bad weather, but it ended up being another just gorgeous West Texas evening because you had the overcast. It was nice and cool. You had a nice breeze coming through, and the crowd that was there, it was amazing how, even if it affected the numbers a little bit, the weather, the noise was up a notch from the last home game, which was always fun. And we had the smoke bombs and we had the big drums at this game, which was super fun. So you could just hear noise the whole game. And I think the team kind of fed off of that. You were mentioning before we started filming about goal celebration. So, I'm curious, you not being there, what was your take on just kind of, could you sense anything from the team, the atmosphere?
Yeah. I mean, it felt like there was just I I mean, like a new spirit. Like being at home just really makes a big difference. And you could tell from the very beginning that we were going to full press. The guys seemed to be having a lot of fun. There was a lot of just fantastic passing. I mean, the chemistry was by far the best I've seen, where, I mean, there were quick touches and they just seemed to know where each other was going to be.
Yep.
And, you know, after, you know, the second goal, it just really felt, you could feel pressure's off.
Yep.
Let's just have fun. We didn't take our foot off the gas. I mean, my son Boone and I were watching the second half, and it was like we almost made a joke of it. Like the ball almost never was on our half. Like we almost didn't even have to pass it back, you know, to find room or to push it up. It was just, no, we'll just play on their half the rest of the game.
Yeah, the thing you mentioned, the passing. I mean, and you're right. It was almost like the more we settled down, the better we got, which again makes sense. I think that's a common thing with really good teams. If you can just chill out, a lot of times you end up dominating even more so. And that's where that mentality comes in. And it's interesting because I feel like it's taken us a little while to kind of, for everything just to snap into place. You know, we've given up a lot of just silly goals, honest mistakes, you know, but we could always tell what was there, all the ingredients. And it was just a matter of everything kind of hitting the right temperature at the right time. And I feel like this was the game that was just like, that's what I've been waiting for. But you were mentioning the passing. Watching back through the highlights, Olivier Correa is just unbelievable to me. Like, so one of my favorite.
He runs like he's on fire too. I mean, it's like incredible.
The way he controls and kind of manipulates the midfield is almost like, and I hate to say it, almost that one of the, I think the most amazing players to watch in the world is Kevin De Bruyne from Manchester City. And it's one of those guys that you wish you could hate him because he plays for the evil, you know, conglomeration. But there's just a fluidity of play, and it's almost like he's thinking on a different level. Like he's playing 3D chess while everyone else is playing regular chess, because Correa has a lot of those same qualities as I'm watching it, because I'll see like Correa with the ball in the midfield, and here's a guy, here's a player, and the ball ends up getting passed into open space. And you know, I'm watching on the broadcast, right? So I'm kind of bound by the TV.
Yeah.
And there's nobody there. And I'm like, was that a mistake? You know what's going on? And then one of our guys comes into frame perfectly on the ball. It was the obvious pass that was obvious before I even knew that guy was there.
Yeah.
And it's just like the way he sees the game was so impressive to me. And then to be able to do that as a midfielder is worth everything, right? You have, like, if you have that guy on the pitch, you can control the entire game. But then the finishes, like he finishes like he's a striker.
Yeah.
Like how, and again, that's a De Bruyne kind of aspect, and you don't get guys who have those types of skill sets to that degree, I think, very often. And it is just like, I am so glad he's on our team.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that would be a nightmare to play against.
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine, because I mean, I thought Houston did a good job of trying to shut him down. They had him double teamed a lot of the game and just could not stop him. Yeah. And Stevenson being the outball option and getting several goals and running into the box. I mean, it's just, if I'm Denton, which is our next game, and we'll talk about that a little bit, I would be terrified of hitting West Texas FC right as we're starting to figure this whole thing out.
Yeah.
And they're kind of slipping a little bit.
Yeah.
And so these kind of trajectories are hitting at the right time for West Texas FC.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
What else did you see in the game that kind of impressed you, or did you see anything that was just like that?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that kind of jumped out to me, and I would say this is probably the only true weakness that I saw us with in this game, and hopefully we've started to notice this, and we can kind tighten this up. But some of our passes back to the goalie, which can be a smart move. Some of our passes are a little late to where the offense is able to almost be at the ball the same time our goalie is getting there. And thankfully,
we've given up some goals doing that. We have given.
Okay, I couldn't remember if we've done that or not.
Yeah, and it, kind of like you say, it's not that it's a bad pass or a bad option, but it is a little, lackadaisical, right? It's a little like you got to be a little more in the game and a little more attuned to the intensity of what's happening.
Yeah. So we definitely have to be aware of that, because that seemed like that could have turned the game, could have given them a goal and everything. But I mean, really, that's largely when you're like really kind of. I'm like really picking at that point to find something at fault. I mean, it was a great game. Again, I mean, Sakanina basically could have been, for a large part of the game, a butterfly chaser. Where, when you watch those little kid games, and I remember when I played, or my kids are playing, there's that goalie in the back who's like watching butterflies or picking, dandelions or whatever, and not even paying attention to the game. And he had the ability to basically do that if he wanted to, because there were times where the ball wasn't even like a threat for, 5 minutes at a time. And I mean, that's
which it'd be easy to turn off.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It'd be so easy just to kind of like not be in the game.
Yeah, no.
But man, when we needed him,
he was on.
he was on.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I'm such a huge fan of all of our goalkeepers that I've been really impressed with them. And that's kind of, I was thinking on the way over here, and there are pros and cons to the way that the Lone Star, the NPSL works, right? Mm-hmm. For us as West Texas FC. And part of that is each year it's a totally new adventure because it's a lot of different players, right? If not completely top to bottom different players. And a bummer about that is I'm getting so attached to this group that I'm just like, I just desperately want Aiken and Stevenson and Correa. I want to see these guys play next year, and I want to see this thing progress. Yeah. And not saying that's not a possibility. I don't actually know. But at the same time, each year you get a new crop of guys, and it's fun to like get to know them and get to meet them. But this group, I think I'll remember for a really long time as a pretty special group. And that extends to the coaching staff. That extends the entire team, which I don't know if you have checked it out yet, but our coach, David Ormiston, is on the newest episode of Diamondback Energy's podcast. And along with Melissa, our manager. And so if you haven't checked it out, the Diamondback Energy podcast, which I think is put together by our buddy Ryan Shuchuk, who's been on this podcast. And
Diamondback, a big sponsor.
Absolutely, on the back of the jersey. So it goes Diamondback, the number, and then Film Hunter Media. So, and Diamondback's just, I mean, what an unbelievable company for our community. And so to have them on the jersey with Tall City.
Have you checked out the new sports facility that they largely are spearheading?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, it's incredible. Indoor facility, huge. I mean, it rivals like the kind of real nice facilities you'd see in, big cities that, I mean, heck, we're building up the next, West Texas FC stars by having these kind of facilities. And
no joke. And you get to hear on that podcast a lot of the things that West Texas FC has done, which is so cool because I think this year last year they did a ton for the community. This year they've amped it up by 20. I mean, they are doing so many things for the community, and a lot of these guys aren't from here. But the passion and the care that they show for the people of Midland and Odessa, it's really, really admirable, which just makes you like, just come back next season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it feels like they're becoming a family out there. I mean, like we were talking about, we had the best goal celebration, in my opinion, of the season with the flip. And I mean, just stuff like that. I mean, again, watching with my son Boone, he pointed out, he was like, man, it's really fun how much fun they have when they score. And like, it's like a team celebration. It's not a look at me, I'm the man. It's like everyone runs up and is excited and hugging. And it's like, why is that happening? You guys have known each other for a matter of weeks. Like that shouldn't happen, but it does. It feels like a family, and it's like, man, I don't want this to end. Like I wish we could have like multi-year contracts.
Right. Well, and the good news is, so let's talk a little bit about kind of what things look like going forward, right? Yeah. Because the best way to extend the fun is to make the playoffs, right? And so in MPSL, it'll be the top 4 teams in the Lone Star League make it to the playoffs. And the higher up that you finish, you get like some home field advantage. So it's a big deal, not just to be in the top 4, but to be as high as possible in the top 4. So as of today, as of the recording today, we are sitting in 4th place. Both by average score, which is kind of what MPSL uses, and by total points. Yeah. Above us is Brownsville, always Brownsville, right? Yeah. Laredo and Denton. So what's interesting is breathing down our necks. Would you not believe it? Like, I can't believe this is where we're at today. Yeah. The freaking Lubbock Matadors are in 5th place and coming off a really successful run, having beaten Denton in Denton. Yeah. And they've got another game against Denton at home. So, Lubbock has kind of found their stride as well, which again, with tournaments like these, it does tend to be, you want to hit your sweet spot in the back half, right? That's normally the teams that end up winning end up having that trajectory. So us, Lubbock, we're definitely kind of in this similar boat, and that's exactly where we want to be. Yeah. But we do, we have a handful of games left in the regular season, and they're not easy, right? We go from playing Denton Diablos, who have already beat us once, but now they're coming to Astound. They're coming to where we've got the Blue Army, we've got our home field advantage, and we're coming off a really, really good game. Yeah. So, then we've got Fort Worth, who we were able to beat the last time out, and that was away. So that should be a really great game. Not a pushover by any stretch. No. We'll still really need to focus on that, and it'll be a little bit of a mental game because we played Denton, Fort Worth, and then Lubbock at home for El Dustico Part 2. So it's hopefully we don't lose sight of that Fort Worth game because it's sandwiched in between 2 really, really, really big games. Yeah. And Lubbock is going to be a little hurt from losing the first round of El Dustico against us. And at their place, I fully expect them to bring a lot of their people down and for that to be a really, really good game. Oh, yeah. So all of that to say, the rest of the season is on a bit of a knife edge. We really need to play well and to maintain that 4th, but also there's plenty of room for us to move up, especially with the Laredo and Denton not being as invincible as they kind of seem to be at the beginning. And Brownsville is kind of in the same boat. All 3 of those teams are opening the door for us. Yeah. And so we need to take full advantage of that against some really, really good opposition. Well, and a lot of that comes down to, again, show up to the games. Like we need fans there, loud, rowdy, getting in the other, opposition's head. Yep. I mean, as a fan, it's fun. We can look at any game and think on any game. We don't have to worry about just the next game, like players hopefully are doing. Right. And if you needed any more reason to show up to the last game, I mean, like you just said, I mean, a lot's on the line, playoffs on the line, pride's on the line. But then we still haven't gotten the trophy. Like, they're holding on to that dadgum trophy that is rightfully ours that we haven't been able to bring it onto the podcast. We haven't been able to display it anywhere, anything. They somehow just, kept it and said, no, it's mine. And I want to show up and just annihilate them and say, no, it's ours. That's staying here. Right. Well, and let me just say, if we can beat Denton on Saturday, the sky's the limit. Like, I think at that point we're a locomotive that, it doesn't matter what Lubbock does. They could show up and play the best game of their season, and we're going to absolutely annihilate them. Like, the trajectory is with us. We need to keep it going.
Yeah.
And Denton is a very good team.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we can do it. But, like, after seeing that Houston game, like, there's nobody better than us in this league. As long as we can come out and do the performance that we know we are capable of, there's nobody that can beat us.
Yeah.
You just can't. And so the next game is Saturday. It's against Denton Diablos. It's a huge game. And to match the intensity of the game, we are going to have the same and equal amount of fun.
Yeah.
We're going to have the pre-match.
Party.
Yeah. Pre-match happy hour. It's going to be right in front of where you enter to
5:30.
5:30, and we're going to have draft beer. They've got that sweet old truck that the guys are pulling, Tall City Beer. We're going to have food trucks. There's a popsicle truck. And then we just found out right before this, there's a freaking mariachi band.
Yeah.
Like, what better party and what better way to go into that game just absolutely on fire.
Yeah.
And the team, I think, will match it.
I agree.
And it's interesting that this year, the coach on that podcast and also just to us has talked so much about the crowd, right? And I think as the players have been pouring out into the community, it's had this interesting effect that the community pouring back into the players has meant so much more.
Yeah.
And it means so much more to those guys because they've been putting such a big effort into the community.
Yeah.
When the community reciprocates that back, I think it's been, we end up getting to be the 12th man.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think it really matters. So hopefully that bug just catches, and hopefully we get some nice weather. It's supposed to be really great. And dude, I cannot wait. I think this is going to be the best game. Like, this is my favorite game as far as looking forward to. And I know that after this one, it'll be the next one.
Yep.
And my eyes are on that Lubbock game.
Yeah,
But this Denton game, I think, is going to be where we actually get to where the rubber meets the road.
Real test.
Yeah, it really is. And I think we're equal to it. And so being able to match and to exceed what we need to, I think is just going to feel like, I bet the party after rivals the party before, and the party before is going to be a rager. So looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, I think coach is going to have them ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send a run for that Stasek. A shot on goal. Big save made by Sekanina as he pounces into the box, dances through a couple defenders, tries to spin around. McCormick gets the loose ball to the near side. Nadeau back to McCormick, top of the box, right side. Into the middle, Correa with space. Out front, Stevenson, it's in for West Texas FC! West Texas FC looking to start the attack the other way. It's Ethan Stevenson moving through midfield. He's got space, plays the ball through. Here's Correa on the right foot! There, Stevenson cuts in, stutter step to the right, and it's a goal! On his left foot, now to his right, plays one to Kareem Williams with space. Moves into the box, left foot cross, through, and it's in for a goal! Front flip celebration! For West Texas FC, that's 3 points in the book.